You're busted and the verdict's in. You've just found out that thanks to a judge, you've lost your freedom forever. You'll never see the outside world again and you're likely thinking of freaking out. Well, that's what people do every single day in court when they're sentenced to life behind bars. Court surveillance cameras have caught some of the craziest freakouts of all time. And in some cases, it's not just the convicts who are freaking out. Arthur Booth. In 2016, Arthur Booth was on the stand. This was for a burglary he'd committed. But as soon as the Miami judge, Mindy Glazer, asked one question, Booth burst into tears. She said, "Did you go to Nautilus Middle School?"
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
And that's when all Arthur could bring himself to say was, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness."
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh my goodness.
This is the nicest kid in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him, all the kids, and look what has happened. I'm so sorry to
Oh
see
my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
He burst into tears because he realized he went to middle school with the judge. They clearly took different paths in life and she became a judge and he became a criminal. It was very sad that Mindy had to sentence her former childhood friend. Judge Glazer said, "I'm sorry to see you. I always wondered what happened to you." But Arthur's reaction and freak out was quite warranted. This was a crazy coincidence and must have made him and Mindy feel pretty bad. Angry father. This is one of the most dramatic outbursts in court. But amazingly, it did not come from the convict. One day, a man who had taken another man's life was on the stand. That's when he pled insanity, saying that he should go to a mental home and not a prison. The judge was listening, but one person in the courtroom was not having it.
You need to go to prison. You don't need to be laying no mental hospital. He wasn't crazy when he murdered my son, man. He wasn't crazy then, but he crazy now. All of a sudden he crazy now. You want to lay in a mental hospital? You done murdered my son, man, for nothing? When he was trying to get away from you. You trying to get away from you, man.
That was Donald Byrd, the father of the victim. He stood up and began shouting, overwhelmed with emotion. He said, "You're saying you're crazy now, but you weren't crazy when you took the life of my son." Donald was so annoyed and freaking out that he had to be removed from the courtroom by a cop. Eventually, he was also held back by his own family and led out of the courtroom.
You kept shooting him while his back was under the truck. You kept shooting him, man. You kept shooting him in his back. His back was turned to you, man. He was trying to get away from you, and you murdered him, man, like that. You murdered him, man, like that. Why you doing it like that, man? And you want to play crazy, man? You ain't crazy.
But the judge did not hold him in contempt of court. After all, as a father, it's pretty understandable that he was very annoyed. The defendant, Lucas Kendall, was late convicted. This was for taking the life of Kishwan Byrd, Donald's son, and also injuring Michael Smathers. Lucas is now facing life behind bars for what he did. Doorkicker. This is a situation where not only does the defendant freak out, but the judge does as well. This case was being broadcast on the People's Court. That's when Judge Millian got very annoyed and accused the defendant of lying. The defendant had apparently badly damaged the plaintiff's car. That's when the defendant realizes the case is not going his way. He tries to make a break for it by kicking open the court door and running off.
Car! He kicked my car too! Who's gonna pay for the car?
Oh, you know what? He just kicked my door! Never mind.
He's apprehended by the courtroom cops before he can actually leave the room. But that's when Judge Millian orders him to leave.
Does he just get the heck out of my courtroom now? Out! Out!
I told you.
As you heard, she shouts, "Get the heck out of my courtroom right now." She finds the man who stormed off guilty and says, "Oh Lord."
Oh, Lord above.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Therefore, I find in your favor.
It seems pretty obvious that if you're trying to defend yourself, it's not the best course of action to kick down the court door. But I guess some people never learn.
Car! He kicked my car too! Who's gonna pay for the car?
Oh, you know what? He just kicked my door! Never mind.
Bryce Rhodes. This one took place in Louisville, Kentucky. A man named Bryce Rhodes was in court various times over a big case. He was accused of taking 3 lives. Bryce was such a problem in court that he went through 4 attorneys. He kept firing them and some also ditched him.
Your job is to do your job, not to worry about me. That's what I'm saying. Well, I worry about me. You worry about your
In one situation, he accused the judge of being biased. That's because Bryce said that he's a person of color.
You denied all my motions. Every motion I filed, you didn't deny it.
I'm pretty sure I've denied the vast
Every
majority
motion I
of pro se
filed.
motions that have ever been
Are you some
filed.
type of racist?
At another point in time, this man spit on an attorney. That's why in court he had to wear a face mask. He also had an outburst in court where he said to the judge, "You're gonna find out real quick." I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I think he was trying to scare the judge.
Get us a date to come back.
No. You're gonna find out though. You're gonna find out real quick. Promise that.
One of Bryce's victim's grandparents then stood up and yelled at the judge. She said this has been going on for 4 years and nothing has been done.
Going on for 4 years and nothing's been done.
But the judge realized that she's simply grieving and is very sad and angry. And amazingly, this trial is still going on and Bryce Rhodes may have even more outbursts in the future. Jerry Collins. Jerry Collins is actually a judge. She is said to be one of the most fierce judges in all of Florida. But the worst thing she's ever done took place in July of 2015. One woman had been very badly injured by her husband, Miles. She was supposed to show up in court to testify against him, but because she was dealing with anxiety because of what had happened, she did not show up. Later on, she did go to court and apologized to Judge Jerry Collins. But the judge simply did not care and was very rude to this woman.
You're required to be here by a court order.
Berated.
You disobeyed a court order.
My anxiety and I'm just.
You think you're gonna have anxiety now? You haven't even seen anxiety.
She then sentenced her to time in jail because she didn't show up to the trial.
I'm in a good place right now.
And violating a court order did not do anything for you. I hereby find you in contempt of court. Turn around.
So even though she was the victim in this case, she was still sent to jail. When the video of this went viral, it caused outrage online. People could not believe that a judge would be so nasty to a victim. The comments on the video called Judge Jerry Collins intolerable. And it's honestly a pretty sad video to watch. Savage Judge. So this is yet another case of the judge as well as the defendant freaking out. This took place in Jackson County, Missouri. Kamia Garrett took the life of her boyfriend. During the trial, one of the boyfriend's family members was speaking, but that's when Kamia interrupted, saying, "Is that it?" Of course, this is very rude to someone grieving. And the judge, John McBain, lost his cool. He said, "Shut your mouth or I'm gonna get some duct tape."
You're gonna shut your mouth or I'm gonna have some duct tape put on it.
Well, he attacked
All right.
Kamia then began to grin and laugh. And that's when Judge McBain said something I'm sure no judge has ever said before. He basically said to Kamia, "I hope you pass away in prison."
I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
He also said that if the state had capital punishment, then she'd be getting the chair. Instead though, 31-year-old Kamia is getting life behind bars. It may sound harsh what the judge said, but she did take the life of Marcel Hill. According to the case, she actually did this with a hammer. After McBain had cooled down, he actually defended his outburst. The judge said, "I don't think I did anything wrong." But do you agree with the judge, or do you think he went too far? It's not exactly professional, but then again the defendant was being very rude to the victim's family. Elizabeth Escalona. Elizabeth Escalona may take the award for the world's worst mother. She badly injured her daughter, and in one case even glued her daughter's hands to the wall. The judge even said it's a surprise her 2-year-old daughter lived through it all. For doing what she did, Elizabeth was sentenced to 99 years in prison. Elizabeth reels over in shock and cries.
I'll set your sentence at confinement in the penitentiary for a period of 99 years. The sentence goes into effect today. As required by law, you will receive all back time credits.
And then in the background, her mother begins crying even louder. A courtroom cop actually has to check on her.
Counsel, is there any reason in law why sentence should not be pronounced at this time? Safely held, to be turned over to a duly authorized receiving agent of the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
Standing convict. One day, one man was in court accused of taking a life. That's when all of a sudden he gets angry at what the judge is saying. He tries to declare his right to stand up in court. But that right is not a legal right and he's told to sit down. However, he won't, and he has to be held down by about 7 cops. He He apparently removed the head of a 19-year-old. Angry judge. One day in court, the defendant begins to freak out. He leaves his seat, but there's not many courtroom cops.
You're going to jail for a year in the county, 365 days county jail.
That's when the judge actually gets up and tries to help out. He takes off his gown and begins to help the cop in restraining this man.
Put your hands behind your back.
Lance Dyer. One day Lance Dyer stole a vehicle and took the police in a high-speed chase. This chase was actually caught on police dashcam. For this, he was sentenced to 11 years behind bars. We can't see Lance's reaction because he's facing away from the camera, but we do see his sister freak out and then she has to be removed from court.
Man, that's man, my brother got 13 years old.
Of course, what Lance did was not right, but I kind of feel bad for the sister because it's not her fault. Just imagine knowing your sibling was going to be spending more than a decade behind bars. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which freak out was the biggest. If you want some more amazing videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thanks for watching. There are some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.